is not a developing third world nation. This is Europe.
These are prosperous middle class people. These are not people trying to get away from areas in North Africa. They look like any European family that you would live next door to.
What could be a difference here from other conflicts, that could seem very far away, in Africa or Middle East or whatever. I mean, these are Europeans that we're seeing being killed.
This isn't a place, with all due respect, like Iraq or Afghanistan. This is a relatively civilized, relatively European, I have to choose those words carefully too, city where you wouldn't expect that or hope that it's going to happen.
When me and Brad first met, I didn't think we'd get along, but turns out we kind of agree on everything. Your racial identity is the most important thing. Everything should be looked at through the lens of race.
Jinx, you owe me a Coke. We both have a lot of opinions about people of color, even though we barely know any.
I say colored people, but as long as we're classifying them, we both think minorities are a united group who think the same and act the same.
And vote the same. You don't want to lose your black card. Sorry, I don't know. I just think we should roll back discrimination laws so we can hire based on race again.
Jinx, now you owe me a Coke. Hey, tell them what you told me yesterday.
White actors should only do voices for white cartoon characters.
Been saying that for years. Stick to your own.
Us white people, we have so much privilege.
I agree. It is a privilege to be white. Ask him about interracial dating.
All I said is that black men who date white women have internalized racism, and white men that date ethnic women are fetishizing them.
Guys against interracial dating now. Like, am I being pranked? Did Boomer put you up to this?
Ugh, that taco place is white owned?
White people should be making white foods, like Kraft macaroni and cheese, no seasoning, not even salt. It's like he's a mind reader. I mean, I've been pushing for segregation forever, and my man does what?
I created an improv comedy show exclusively for ethnic people.
Guy segregates comedy on my birthday.
White people need to stop wearing dreadlocks, and they need to stop appropriating black people's music.
Shaved heads and country music, the way God intended.
All white people are racist.
I'm listening.
Even if you have a black wife or a black friend group, you're still really racist.
We just kicked a guy out of the organization for having a black girlfriend, but if you can promise me he's still really racist, we'll consider letting him back in.
Black people should only shop at black businesses. I guess the only thing we really disagree about is I think white people are the root of all evil.
But what did I tell you, though? If we can narrow that down to a certain group of tiny-hatted white people, I think we can come to an understanding.
Technically, I don't consider Jewish people white.
Neither do I.
The people who pressed on with that American creed. Yes, we can.
Yes, together, we will make America better.
All right. Yeah, we're starting something new. Welcome, everybody, to the next episode of Unintelligent Intellectuals.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yes. All right, it took so long. And, St. Patrick's Day. But, yeah, gas is super expensive now, so we had to rent a buggy and carriage here. Meet up. Sorry for the delay.
Do you realize that would have taken me like 8 hours to get here?
Yeah.
I gotta go slow.
You gotta go slow. Oh man, I didn't watch that movie.
I fucking hate that. Whoa.
Oh man. Yeah, I guess I can't complain about the time too much. But
this is so fucking trippy, man. What are we doing?
I know, fuck.
What
yeah.
are we doing
like,
here?
I think if I minimize this, then I don't really want to talk about that. But
I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, I like what that guy Bryce said about it, the fighter. Because he was just like, I don't know what's going on. Like, it might just a little bit.
They come to my town. Oh, we're gonna fight.
Yeah. I dig my heels in and we'll see what's what.
Fucking Arkansas.
Yeah. That's the Russians are like, now we have to take over Arkansas. But I get what he's saying though, because it's just like, I don't know what the fuck's going on over there. But if something pops off and it threatens like stuff that I care about, like, all right, let's go. But until that happens, he's like, full shit. And I know that like if people keep on making references to like World War II, and it's like, oh, we were trying to be isolationist too then, and then look at all the bad shit that happened and it took us so long to get involved. It's like, yeah, but things are a lot different than World War II. Like, you can't just make blanket statements and not understand the context whatsoever of what's going on. But people are calling Putin Hitler, and like it's not the same.
It's cute.
Yeah, it's cute. It's cute little comparisons. But so it's like there's a lot of stuff to dice through with that, and I don't really want to touch on it because it's like there's so much stuff that we don't know, so much stuff that I'm not an expert in, don't really have an authority to really talk about. And to be honest, like I hate to say it, but I don't care. But I mean, like I care. Like it sucks that people are suffering in war and stuff like that. But I feel like
there's just a lot of conflict in the world that people don't care about.
Right. It's just like hyper focus on this one. I understand the implications of the where it could go and why that's something to pay attention to, but
because they're white.
Well, that's the interesting thing. Like this kind of conflict kind of brought about like this could have been a unifying type of thing where it's like, oh, this terrible stuff's happening overseas. I know there's terrible stuff happening everywhere, but here's something that could potentially affect us in a big way, in the world in a big way. It's like, oh, okay, let's pay attention, let's come together, let's figure out what to do. But then it ended up even showcasing our divisions even more than ever. So it's just...
I actually... No, but I believe that. It's just because they're white.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Dude, there's a genocide happening in Yemen.
Yeah. It's been happening for a few years now. But we love Saudi Arabia and their oil. In fact, we're trying to, kiss up to them right now. But
we need a country where we can go and shit on Instagram models.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Why do you keep going to Saudi Arabia? You ever take a dump on a hot chick? It's invigorating.
Wow. Oh, that's oil money.
Soak it up.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. But I don't know. I like to believe it's not like that. I like to believe it's because of the implications of where it might lead to.
I mean, obviously with Russia, but I'm saying in general, it's just some white people.
But that's what I think. Like, if we are able to, I think if we were more united on that front, or I guess especially when it comes to race, we'll be able to deal with and address these issues a little bit more tactfully. But since we're not, since we're like, we have all this infighting, we're like squabbling over all these, we don't see ourselves as one nation. So it's like, we're fighting over the things that shouldn't be complicated. But, we're able to unilaterally pass the bill off of, about the daylight savings thing. So it's about time.
Wait, what happened?
The Senate, they passed. It hasn't touched. It's gotten to the House now, so I don't know. But the Senate, I think, unanimously voted to end the daylight savings thing or make the daylight savings time permanent. So instead of changing the clock every few months, like 6 months or so, like to fall back and spring forward.
Well, it's not going to do that anymore.
Yeah, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about taking that away.
I won't mind that.
Yeah. But it's just that's like the one thing that's like,
it sucked when it happened.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I lost an hour. Oh shit! It's always like, I mean, getting an hour is nice, but it's always like, oh, it's this week. Oh man, nice having an extra hour on the weekend, but yeah, it sucks when you lose it, especially when you have to get up and do something that morning. Like, oh, damn it. But that's like the one thing that that we've been able to unanimously come together and be like, everyone's like, all right, yeah, let's vote for this. But when it comes to like anything else, it's like we fight tooth and nail. So yeah, it's just crazy. Well, I mean, that one thing that I was trying to learn this program because there's a few clips that I wanted to play. And I kind of diced this one up. This was like with Charlemagne. Like this guy calls into the Breakfast Club, and he was talking about. Well, I'll play the clip. So I don't want to do Lady Redundant Woman, but they're just going. Did
you say Lady Redundant Woman?
Yeah. It's,
no, I like that. That's a good one.
Now,
Because we asked the simple.
I cut part of this clip. This is a clip in and of itself, and then I cut the clip out, or I clipped out part of the stuff that they were talking about. Not to paint anybody in any kind of way or anything, but just to try to dice through the noise and the unnecessary nonsense. Because I mean, he kind of reiterates what the guy was saying in the phone call in more succinct terms. Like the guy was kind of rambling off and just like he was kind of incoherent and kind of like how I'm doing right now. but yeah,
who is that?
I have no idea. I think it's just some generic.
I feel like I've seen that somewhere. That's all.
Yeah, that might be just generic pictures they got up for the Donkey of the Day pictures. But I don't watch Breakfast Club enough to.
Who's Donkey of the Day?
It's the thing that they have for.
No, I said who.
Oh, whatever the guy.
I know what Donkey of the Day is.
Okay,
I'm familiar.
The guy never gave his name, but it's just some random caller who called in, and this was because they were talking about the resources that the United States is providing for Ukraine as opposed to other things, and yeah, I guess we'll talk about Charlemagne in general after this, but here we go. Here's the clip.
Because we asked a simple question based off something we hear about all the time. We've been hearing about it our whole lives, and Tupac summed it up in one bar. They got money for war, but can't feed the poor. Let's listen to President Joe Biden last night from the State of the Union talk about the financial aid he wants to provide in Ukraine.
We're providing support to the Ukrainians in their fight for freedom. Military assistance, economic assistance, humanitarian assistance. We're giving more than $1 billion of direct assistance to Ukraine and will continue to aid the Ukrainian people as they defend their country and help ease their suffering.
Now, I said this at the end of the show one day this week, and I'll say it again now. When you hear America, and the reason I say America is because it's not just the current president in the White House, President Biden. It's been every president since I've been alive. When you hear America say things like they want to send billions of dollars, okay, to Ukraine or any war, all right, yet people in America are starving. You cannot help but ask, how come they can't ever find money to give to people here in America that are in need? Nobody is saying don't help Ukraine, but if you are one of the 30-plus million people living below the poverty rate in America, you're going to ask, what about us? All right, if you're one of the 44.7 million people in student loan debt, wondering what happened to the $10,000 people in student loan debt was supposed to get, you have to ask, what about us? If you're one of the 107,000 plus veterans who are homeless on any given night in America, you have to ask, what about us? Dude said we have to help the people in Ukraine because if not, they will come over here and take what we got. But so will people over here in America who are financially challenged. So if that logic applies to Ukraine, why doesn't it apply to folks here in America who are in financial need? I promise you, and I can say this without any statistics to back it up, Americans that live here in America are more likely to be robbed by another American in need right here in America than they are by somebody coming from another country and taking what we got. All right? The 78-year-old woman who got robbed while praying in church in Tennessee didn't get robbed by folks from Ukraine, bro. All right, in a country where 61% of the population lives paycheck to paycheck and millions of Americans are only $400 away from financial hardship, don't be mad or upset or shocked when people see all this money going to other countries, but right here in America, people are starving and they start asking questions. So,
yeah. That's the gist of it?
Yeah, that's the crux of what they were talking about.
So the donkey of the day is the government?
No. It goes out to this guy who called in, and he was saying how he's like, oh well, he was explaining why we have to help the people in Ukraine.
So this is a caller.
Yeah. Caller can't
call. Is it a black dude?
Sounded like, but
yeah. Well, if it sounds like it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's horrible.
No, but I mean, like, yeah.
No. I know somebody who they were black. Yeah. So I need to preface that. But they called somebody the M word with the hard R. And I
you kind of had to do a double take.
No, I said something like, damn. And then she's like, well, if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck.
Oh, my God. Yeah. I was imagining something different. Like imagining like watching The Fresh Prince, and then Carlton was like, "What's that nigger doing over there?" Like, whoa!
It's a rambunctious Negro.
Yeah. Oh man.
Where's the help?
Nigger Jeffrey. But no, he was calling the guy donkey of a day because he was kind of like, yeah, well, we need to help them because if we don't, then people are, like they're in need, and like when people are in need, like they're gonna come.
It's
to
like
your
a
house
dire humanitarian crisis.
Yeah, and he was trying to make he was trying to make the argument that we need to help them because if we don't, then they're gonna. Then they're gonna go somewhere else. And they're gonna take the money.
I just don't give a shit. I mean, we've had all these like different type of relief funds and bills where like, it's trillions of dollars that are being like pushed into like saving companies or whatever the fuck that means, and then nothing ends up happening or going to other people that need it. So it's like, what's 42 or 43 billion? Like, it sounds like an astronomical number, but I mean, like
I don't even think it's that high.
It's like 40 some odd, I think.
That we have for Ukraine?
There was a bill that was signed. Who knows where all that actually went to, but...
Yeah, because I know at first we sent over $1 billion, and I think there's
just so much bullshit happening. It's like...
I hear you, man. Yeah, like, who knows what. But, the last number that I heard was like 16 billion or something like that, which still like that's a nice chunk of money. And I think his argument was all like, oh well, like because like all his stats are right. Like there are like 60% of people are living paycheck to paycheck, $400 away from financial ruin, like one car crash or one medical bill away from financial ruin.
But it's been that way, like
right,
and the government's not going to help.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like
or like, not say not going to help. It can't help.
It's not gonna. Yeah. The interventions that it proposes isn't gonna, because even when they injected money into the economy, like directly into people's pockets, and not to say
that could help, but then you're just reliant on that.
Yeah, well, like I think it's the system that we have in place overall financially, where because with the relief bill, it did help a lot of people, especially because a lot of people lost their jobs, a lot of people couldn't work, a lot of people lost their businesses. And then like a lot of people even on food assistance.
Well, you can pay rent. You didn't have to pay rent, so it's okay.
Yeah, so it's like they had all these things. It was like, oh, they like circumnavigate this, and like, oh, we'll have relief for this, and for mortgages. Like, all right, well, we'll like you could be delayed if it's due to like COVID stress. Then it's like or stuff that's happened because of COVID existential threats. Due to COVID, it's like, all right, well, just let us know, write this little thing in, and we'll elongate it for however many months. Yeah. So you don't have to pay. But even with all that, and then they injected money directly into people's pockets, it's like that was good for people on the personal day-to-day basis. They had more money to spend. But at the end, when everything was said and done, most of that money floated back up to the top. It floated up to the people who had the money in the first place. So even though none of the money was given to them, it's like that's where the money... So it's like... trickle up economics in a way, but that's because that's the way that the system's set up. Like, oh, if you have something like you're gonna go out to the store, you're gonna buy more. You're gonna buy toilet paper. You're gonna buy soap. You're gonna go out and buy more food.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna prep for this stuff. And who owns all that stuff? It's like it's not just your regular mom and pop shops. Like there might be some, but even they get their stuff from big distributors, which is owned by the rich and powerful. So it's like eventually that money goes back to the rich and powerful. So I mean, trickle up economics is a real thing. Trickle down, like we can, it's arguable, but I think that's the system the system's set up in that way where it's like you're incentivized to kind of stay where you're at financially, where it's kind of hard to get out of that stratosphere of economic wealth or build into the next stratosphere of economic wealth without cognizantly doing so and without falling into the traps of, oh, I make more money, now instead of spending more money, I'm going to invest more money so then I can have the money making money for me so then I'm building up. But typically people just psychologically get into this habit of buying this stuff, and then they get more income, so they get into the habit of buying more stuff that they want. Oh, I want more stuff, or I can't really afford that $40,000 car. I'm going to get a loan for it, but I could afford the down payment and the monthly payments, so I'll get it. But then you're paying those interest rates, and it's not going to you or your dad, and it's going to
the banks,
exactly
and whoever.
The person who has $40,000 who's like, oh yeah, I'll loan this to you. You just have to pay me for me loaning the money to you. So I mean, that's the system that we have in place, and I think that a lot of people are blind to it. And it's not like it's an evil slave
empire.
Yeah. It's just like, no, this is just the system that we have in place, and if you want to get out of it, or if you want to circumnavigate it, then you have to watch out for where the pitfalls are, and so
where the beads fall.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not like without hope. Like there's ways to like you could band together. Like I've heard of families that are like there's 3 families living in one household, and they're able to coincide with like different.
That's a little extreme.
It is extreme, but it's just like like in other countries, it's like they don't. There's some countries that don't have those social safety nets that we do, and not to say like, oh, you ain't doing nothing for yourself, but just to say like there is money. There's money for the poor. Like that phrase, we have money for war but can't feed the poor, kind of implies that we don't have money for the poor. But I was kind of curious. I looked into it. I was like, well, how much money do we have for the poor? And
yeah, you were telling me that.
Yeah, and just the SNAP program, the food stamps program alone is $60 billion. So,
I don't know what's happening.
We have $60 billion a year for the SNAP program. I'm like, oh, that's quite a bit of money, And it's like, there's an argument about whether that's enough or not, or like whether it's going to the right places or not. That's up for discussion. So like, how much?
But other people are able to do it. So like,
yeah, go ahead.
Like other people are able to do it, so it's kind of like. I just don't even care when it comes to that type of stuff.
Yeah, man. No, I hear you.
Do what you can to get as much as you can, like if that's what you want to do. But at the same time, like
yeah. And even with that, like people get stuck into like people who earn X amount of money. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, there's too much shit that you can do in this country. Like
yeah. So
for you to be at a point where like you can't feed yourself, it's like I don't.
Yeah.
Do better.
I mean, like I understand that there's some people
figure
who just
it out.
Like, yeah, there's some.
Well,
people
I was joking with you. I was like, yell at your parents.
Yeah. Damn it, Dad, it's your fault.
You guys suck.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot. Like you said, there's a lot of options to go about, and there's a bunch of reasons why people are in the situations. Like I know mental health is a thing, and
ain't that much of a thing.
Yeah, it's not 40 billion people thing.
People are just weak.
I think it's like the same trap that people fall into when they get that $45,000 car, where it's like they get used to a certain kind of lifestyle and they don't want to lose it and they want to maintain it. So then it's like, okay, well I get paid this much for off of government assistance, and that was just SNAP. Like that doesn't include WIC,
all the other things that you
get. Unemployment benefits, Section 8. Like there's so much. There is money out there, so we could talk about how much money. If we could say like, is there enough money there to provide for this stuff? And it's like, if not, then okay, what's the dollar amount? What would be enough? And then it's like, but that's not what's talked about. That's not what he's saying. He's just saying in general, like, oh, we got money for this, but we don't have money for that.
Well, that's what he does, though.
Yeah, but it's not, and see, that's my frustration with him, where it's like, because I know he's intelligent, I know he knows, like, because I've heard him. My introduction to him was when he was talking to Tommy Lauren, and they were having that back and forth. I was like, whoa, like I never knew that those person who was like in the spotlight, who was this intelligent and showcasing these things, like a black man, like, oh, this is awesome. Who is this guy? And then I look his stuff up, and it's just like he's talking about nonsense.
You were definitely let down.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck is this? But I just not. I mean, hey, whatever he's doing is working for him, man. I mean, what can I say? With our 10 subscribers, it's like not too much advice I could give. So,
well, see what you could do.
Right. Yeah. My advice to you, my double-digit subscribership.
My 5 views.
So yeah, what do I know? So I mean, he's doing something right. I mean,
yell at Wendy Williams.
Yeah. I could at least.
Do you know?
I
That's
know
how
he
he started.
He used to work with Wendy Williams. I know that. Or work for.
Yeah. Well, she brought him on and was like kind of like a side like co-host type of thing.
Yeah, I saw one. Because I saw him sitting in a room with Wendy Williams. It's like a little radio setup, and they had this comedian come in, and then he was just like trying to go in on this comedian, and then the comedian was firing back at him.
Yeah, that's Dice.
Yeah.
Oh! Oh, fuck. Sorry, I gotta stretch something out.
Swing it around your back, man. This is the best way. But yeah, I saw that. But it's like I see that he has the capacity to, and I've seen him talk about certain things, and so it's like, all right, like he could do this. He could talk about this. He could potentially touch on these issues.
His mindset's not there for that.
Yeah, it's just maybe he just has different interests, and it's just and it served him well. So it's like, all right, power to him. But it's just I see where he could go, and the thing that he could talk about, and the kind of influence that he has. I'm just like, holy shit! Like if you just shifted gears a little bit, But again, he's not. I mean, I don't foresee him doing that on his own, and I don't see him like skimming through the internet finding that our videos are like 10 views and it's like 10 subscribers. I'm like, that's good advice. So I mean, I'm critiquing out of love and frustration, maybe shouting to an empty cavern, but yeah, it's just that's my gripe with him, but not like he's like fundamentally flawed as a person, but just as it's like media in general, where it's
why are you trying to play politics with this?
No, not politics.
I don't want to be too in it.
Well, like I'm trying to be like I don't want to be.
Who cares? You're not gonna see this.
I don't want to be like a dick because like for real, if I was sitting down with him, like this is how I talk, like, hey man, like I like what you can provide.
Yeah, I mean, you sit down with somebody, you're not going to be like, you're a piece of shit, you dumbass.
Yeah. Well, I like to imagine that, like, whenever I talk about somebody and pretend like they're here, like, I don't want to say anything behind someone's back that I'm not going to say in their face. But it's like, some of the stupid rants that he goes on, just like...
Call him the N-word. Do it.
But, it's just, it's kind of, it's kind of like I hope that one day or wish that somebody in his circle would give him like a kind of breakthrough that like J.R. Smith went through. Or
his circle would probably be the biggest problem.
Yeah, no, they're just like, yeah, man, you go for it. Yeah.
It's not even go for it. You're giving him. Yeah, who knows what his group is?
That's true. I just imagine that it's not. I don't know if I have no idea. I couldn't say. But I don't imagine that it's like a bunch of people sitting around being super critical about, young man, you got the potential to talk about these things. Maybe you should address these issues. I just don't imagine that being it.
Nappy-headed hose.
I don't think that. Jesus. But, perhaps.
Who the fuck said that? Who said that?
No.
You don't remember that?
No. Oh, someone said
yeah.
that.
It's Don Imus.
Okay.
It was the women's Rucker team.
Oh, okay.
They were like, I think they had like a reputation of being like a little bit rough around the edges or something like scrappy and shit. And then he was like, somebody was like saying like, oh, like, they're like some stuff, and he was like, yeah, those are some tough hoes. Some nappy-headed hoes.
That's funny. Yeah.
And then he had to apologize. And then Patrice O'Neill went on Fox News and said it was the funniest thing he's ever seen.
I love Patrice.
And then because he was like, just imagine, this is Don Imus saying nappy-headed hoe.
Yeah.
That is fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it is funny, man.
And then people were like, get mad at him. It's like, no, it's like he was trying to be funny. He wasn't serious. Like,
yeah.
John Imus, yeah, cowboy hat.
Oh man. But yeah,
is he dead?
I have no idea.
No, he's old as shit, man. Worse than Larry King.
It's like, oh yeah, you belong in the crypt.
He was decrepit.
But yeah, man, I have no idea what his circle's like, but yeah, I'm not trying to be,
I'm trying to be mean to the guy.
Politician with it. No, it's just that like I like just imagining like having a conversation like.
Don't worry, we'll find a good clip and then you'll hate him.
yeah. Like, oh, what kind of stupid shit. I'd say that to anybody though. I mean, like if anybody's saying something stupid, I'm like, yo, what the fuck are you talking about, bro?
Unless it's some of those select people, where you just kind of take a sidestep and try and walk away.
I mean, I'll say it from a distance. Like if I see Mike Tyson, oh, I'm gonna eat your children. I'm like, yo, what the fuck you talking about, bro?
Oh no, I'm talking about like what we were dealing with the other day.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think you want to say something like that to those kind of people. You just kind of want to be like, oh yeah, well, yeah, I like carrots. What did you say?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Anything that you could possibly get away from that scenario.
It's like, oh, would you look at that? Just drop my phone, just destroyed on the floor. Sorry, man, I gotta go to the
you
store.
drop it and then kick it.
Yeah.
Oh wow, shit, I gotta go over there, man.
Oh man, my bad. Oh, mistakes happen. Gotta go.
Gotta use the bathroom. Bye.
Yeah. Like, oh shit. Ongoing escape. Oh man. But yeah. This is. I think he has a habit. Like I think you were talking about it at one point. Like he it's like insecurity. It kind of because sometimes he just talks shit to talk. Like he's just feel like he's filling up the space and he's sure about what he's talking about, but he's not looking into it. So I'm just like, no, you don't really know what you're saying. So it's just. So it's kind of frustrating because a lot of people listen to him and be like, take it as
It's an unintelligent intellectual.
Yeah. It's just because it's like I mean he pointed out like the whole the Biden talking about
you were talking about the Biden or
yeah, I know.
The baby?
The baby, yeah. No, the Biden administration, like before they came in, they were talking about, oh yeah, like college tuition, we're gonna pay like up to $10,000.
Oh, you're talking about the if you don't vote for me, you mean black?
Oh no, not even that.
No.
But like what Biden, one of his promises, he was talking about making community colleges free or providing some amount of money to. Yeah, like it was just a talking point. Like that's what politicians do. They just, I mean, he took that straight out of Bernie's camp because it's just like, oh well, he saw what happened 4 years ago, or someone did, and they were just, oh well, say this now, so then you could swing them over to your side. And
college is getting too expensive, and I plan to help alleviate those pressures or stressors, right. And then nothing happens.
Yeah, he doesn't give a shit. It follows policy, not his words. You're gonna trust a politician by his words. You can't measure them like you measure everybody else. Like, it's just not gonna
follow him by his policy. Black people shouldn't be in the same schools as white people.
Yeah.
Black kids are just as. No, it was.
I forgot.
It was poor kids are just as smart as white kids.
Oh, okay.
That's the thing he said. Yeah, poor kids are just as smart and bright as white kids.
Ooh, this is a heavy implication there.
That was recent. That's like,
oh shit! Yeah. Oh, I thought you were talking about like back in the day.
No, that's like within the last like couple of years. I think it was like maybe a year or two before he got nominated. So it might have been on the campaign trail or like leading up to that.
That's fantastic. I love that.
Poor kids are just as smart and bright as white kids. That made me feel good inside.
Yeah.
Oh, minorities are just as smart as me.
Yeah. Get to know all minorities are poor. Yeah.
Well, you gotta let them know that they're smart. If you don't tell them that they're not,
I have no idea, bro.
I'm intelligent.
Oh. Thanks, Biden.
Thanks, Mr. Biden.
It's like 1950s infomercial, like, gee golly whiz.
I can be black and have a job.
Yeah. But yeah. Like, I mean, Charlotte's pointing stuff like that out. But it's like, instead of like diving deep into like, you know, politicians lying in general, or like what his policies are, and like the fact that he's ripping off of that, it's like maybe that's just not his realm, so he just doesn't know. But then he talks about like veterans starving on the street and stuff like that. It's like, well, I mean, we increased the VA budget this year by like 10%. So I mean, do you want 20%? You want 30%? Like, how much is accurate? Like, it seems like, I think he's speaking from a place of emotion. Like he feels for the people who are in need, and he wants to care.
He always speaks from emotion.
Yeah.
That's why he's going to have
about.
bad takes.
Yeah,
that's stupid. This is not always emotion, but like a lot of the time.
Yeah.
He speaks from emotion. Jesus fucking.
Yeah. Jeez. But yeah, because he's he always it's not always a bad take, but it's just like it's not an accurate take. Like it's like if you care.
Well, it can be inaccurate because if you're going through like you're speaking from a standpoint of emotion.
Yeah, bring it close.
At least if you're speaking from a standpoint of emotion for not enough, or you continue to do that, you're gonna have a bad take.
Yeah. And it's like, and that could be interesting. Like, I would rather the conversation be more on the solution side as opposed to complaining about the problem side.
It's just like with the female wages.
Yeah,
because when people start saying like, well, black women make X amount, and then like it's patriarchy and all that stuff. It's but it's like black women aren't that educated and don't have that much like.
I think
like how do you expect them to make as much money as white women when like 60% of white women have like college degrees and master's degrees and have like careers?
Yeah, well, I think
it's like it's improbable. Like you can't statistically make up
for all the probabilities, but or all the factors. I think like black women are more educated than black men, but the thing is that in the workforce, like when it comes to wages, your education level doesn't directly translate to a higher wage, and then your participation within the workforce. That is an example. Like,
yeah. There's a lot of white women have, are just like middle class, going to college, having degrees, getting a career. It's like where black women, you don't see that. At that first percentage goes. So then you're gonna have to like overcompensate your lack of education to match up with your earnings.
And like to get more like a higher.
Then you're looking at like, what are there issues with the education system?
Yeah, or at least matching up with the career fields, and then it's like, oh well, either a lot of or a few of the percentage or
like
everybody
school
who is
for
getting
public school systems at the lower level. I'm saying like that could be a racial implication, but then because the lack of education then leads to difference in wages. That's not necessarily the difference in wages itself is not an explanation of racism.
Yeah. It's just correlated. It doesn't mean that this causes that. Yeah. No, I follow you. And see, and those are conversations to have and stuff to dive into, but it's like that's not.
They're not being had.
Yeah. I mean, I'm saying it's too like it needs to be talked about, but that's the issue. It's not.
You say that it's a myth and that there's no such thing as the wage gap. Everybody flips their shit.
Yeah.
When it's been disproven.
Yeah, like we could just dive into like
by economics, not me, or economists.
Economists, yeah.
I have not disproven it.
Yeah, I just read the stuff. But that's something we could definitely dive into. But yeah, that's my issue. Like stuff like that isn't being talked about. Like okay, is like you perceive a problem here. Okay, where is the problem? Oh wait, we look into it. It's actually not a problem. I'm like, oh, how could you say that? It's like. Because that's what the facts say. I was like, how dare you? It's like, I mean, I don't know what you want from me. Like, this isn't a problem. Let's move on to another thing. What do you perceive to be a problem? Or if you still believe it's a problem, what would you like to see happen? So that way, it's like, all right, maybe your proposal isn't too outlandish.
To reverse the power structures.
Yeah, which is like, I mean, that's too fucking generic. Like, it's not a.
No. It's not generic because that's not what's being said.
But like to reverse a power structure is like it's a
no.
very...
But I mean, that's what I'm saying is that's what it is.
I know, but it's
like the black people that constantly are trying to talk about all these like different racial things.
Yeah.
All they want to do is just to be in control.
Right.
And they want power and money. So they want the exact same thing that white people have.
Right.
And then they're getting mad at white people for
having it.
So then they then guilt them and then try and get that power and then be the same thing that the white people have.
Right. And it's not all black people who are like, they're all white people who they're coveting the power from, but it's just like in general, it's like that's the way that they're looking at the power structure as. But see, I hate that framing of conversation. Like it's 100%.
But that's what the conversation is.
I know, but
that's what feminism is.
I know, but like
feminism isn't about women bricklayers. It's about senators and governors and CEOs. All it literally is just achieving and acquiring power and money.
I know, but it's like it's frustrating because it's like if this is fleshed out, like see it to its fruition. Like, all right, let's say you accomplish your goal, overthrow the power structure. Black people are the ones that are making more money and in control and in politics and doing this at percentage wise is a way larger proportion than white people, or even as a raw numbers wise. It's like, okay, there's 235 black congressmen versus 200 white congressmen. It's like, oh man, we've accomplished the goal. It's like, all right, we're on top. All right, cool. Now, at what point do you stop coveting that power? Or does the table flip now because now the white people are the ones that are oppressed, and now are they justified in pursuing the same type of things that you were pursuing before, trying to be in power and so it's like it's a constant struggle with no end, and I'm not sure.
Progress in the last 50 years, 70 years.
And that's my fucking frustration, yo. Like, it's like, oh, what's your fucking goal? Like, what is your goal? Like, what does your utopia look like? What is your destination? And I don't. Maybe there's something that I haven't. Maybe I'm not talking to enough smart people. It's just like whenever I ask these questions or talk to people about this stuff, it's like I understand how you feel about it. It doesn't feel good to not see people or a lot of people who look like you in these positions. I get that. You can pursue this. You can go after this. So you can feel good about it. You can feel better about it, or support someone who does look like you and does like and whatnot. But it's like to make yourself feel good. But at the end of the day, shouldn't you just want somebody there in that position who's going to do the best job? Or like, and even if you don't, and you just want to support, you just want to feel good about the way that you look, and so you're supporting someone based off of that, like literal skin deep assessment of character. Then, at what point is it enough? There's not an answer. So it's like that line of thinking and just the broadcasting of that line of thinking is in line or consistent with the kind of stuff that Charlemagne is talking about, and that's my frustration with him. So like it's not like I hate him as a person. I'm not jealous of his wealth or his accomplishment. It's just like
I wouldn't mind his money.
I'd be a fan, but I don't want to talk about that stupid shit. but like I wish that like him broadcasting that kind of stuff over and over again, it just like it gets into people's minds and this reaffirms that you're not making any progress. Like it's just that mindset is not heading in a direction that doesn't lead to the place that you think it leads to. It's like, even though it feels right, it's not what you want it to be. Like even in your heart of hearts, like, that's not what you want. So that's my frustration with it, man. And it's like that's why I was like when you showed me that clip with J.R. Smith. That was just like that was a relief because I'm just like, oh well, I don't know too much about him, but it's just
except
like
for the Eurocentric comments.
Oh, what did he say about Eurocentric?
Did you watch the clip?
I saw the clip that I saw was the one with where he's talking about the it was a Eurocentric mindset or something like that. He was talking about.
He wasn't using it correctly.
Yeah.
Like at all.
I wasn't. Yeah. I'm kind of like he doesn't know what he's talking about. But no. But yeah. No. It's lunchtime. Eat real food. No chips. But
What are we talking about?
J.R. Smith, Eurocentricity.
Yeah, he was using Eurocentric as like an individual.
Yeah.
And that's
like
not
a mindset.
That's not a European. That's not what a European mindset is.
Yeah. No, I skimmed over that part. I was like, yeah.
Oh, now I know what I was gonna say. No, it kept throwing me off because I'm listening to him, and then I'm like, yeah, and then he's like, yeah, we just have to rid ourselves of this individualistic Eurocentric mindset, and I was like, and then I'm like, I actually had to look it up because I was like, do I not know what Eurocentric means?
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong.
And I'm like, no, it's just a European like way of like where like I'm not caring about Asia, Africa. It's like I'm thinking with like Europe in like the back or front of my mind.
Yeah.
So I
think what he meant to say is like get into a mindset where we are proud of our like Black people, proud of who we are as a people, and
care about each other.
Yeah, I think that's what he was trying to say, but like he was just big words are prettier. But so I just took it. I was like, I'll just.
It's just because he kept using like individual or like individuality.
Yeah.
After he would say Eurocentric, and I was like, that's. Yeah. It kept throwing me off. I'm like, okay, like you shouldn't be used. I get what he's saying. Like, like we have too much of an individual mindset. And we need to start after we acquire everything. We then need to start thinking about like our group.
Yeah.
And then he kept saying Eurocentric, and I was like,
yeah, he's making a connect, like, and I see this happening a lot where people like mesh things together. So like he's associating the love for the individual with something with what's taught by a Eurocentric mindset. So he's just like, he's thinking Eurocentric mindset, which is what we're in, because we're ruled by white people. I
guess because like white people don't view ourselves as like a collective race, really.
Yeah.
We don't have like ethnic loyalty or anything like that.
Right. I think it's that.
I honestly have no idea really what he was trying to say.
I think like I think he's trying to like the same like how like socialism like combat or comes into clash on some level with like the scientific revolution, like the Renaissance, kind of like like looking past like these basic ways of looking at society and focus more on like things on individualistic kind of level as opposed to a collective communal type of level, and so it's like I think it was something in that realm. Like I could kind of parse out like what he was trying to say, but I just kind of ignored that part. Where it was like when like in the State of the Union when Biden said like, oh, for the Iranian people, I'm like, I know what you meant. Like I'll ignore you. You meant Ukrainian, but like,
that's okay.
Yeah, the old guy is saying a lot of words. Like you got confused. But JR's like, oh, like you're a basketball player. Like, yeah, I know what you were going.
I was more curious if that was like a thing, and I didn't know.
No. I think he was just like, and that's what. Like,
more so like a thing that like Black people talk about.
No, it's well, I can't speak for all Black people, but
I'm more in tune than you.
Yeah, I guess.
Remember, I've told you sometimes. You're like, oh, really?
Yeah. I was like, the fuck is that? Yeah, I'm a foreigner, man.
I was like, oh, you didn't know? You're like, no.
I was born in a foreign household, man. I was just
Well, I knew Charlemagne before you.
Yeah. I was like,
you like knew him, but like,
yeah, I was like, I saw him on Tommy Lauren, and then I saw like the clips. I was like, oh, that's fucking.
Like, you know who he is, but like I was probably more
exposed to
him
used
than
to
you were.
his rhetoric. Yeah. Because I was like, oh, speaking from emotion, does he do that?
And then you started watching.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I see it. Yeah, but the part that I liked what JR was talking about was when he was talking about how he would spend all this money and doing this and like he's like focusing on these things because like, oh yeah, I was happy with this stuff, but he's like, but I wasn't really happy. Like I was pursuing this, thinking that this was gonna bring me joy, like blowing 60 grand in the strip club and da da da. And he's like, but that wasn't it. He's like, I was doing that because it's like I had the means and I was pursuing something, but that it was like ethereal, like I could never grasp it. It was smoke, like I couldn't contain or conceptualize what it really was. It kind of had a shape, and like when I reached out to grab it, it really wasn't there. I'm putting words in his mouth now, but but he's just like, but he's like, what really brings me fulfillment, or like his big project right now is like reflecting on times like that and thinking like, oh well, I could have fed people in my community for weeks. And like with that kind of money for 60 grand, like that's a lot of money. I could do a lot of good with that money. So instead of doing this other thing, this fuckboy shit, I could come out here and I could do something powerful for a lot of people. Yeah, and that was I like that kind of messaging because it was like it's one thing for like people would look at individual black people and like, oh, look at the level of excellence they were able to achieve. Look how much money they're able to achieve. That's an example of what we can do. That's great that they're doing that. Fantastic, great for the culture. But at the expense of them doing that, it's like they're purveying this this nigga type of mentality of like, oh, like wearing clothes like this or treat women like that or like, no, fuck these bitches and like the whole like the the hip hop lifestyle where it's like with the and basketball is very closely entwined with the hip hop lifestyle. So it's so coming from that like that infrastructure and being like, nah, that's fundamentally wrong. Like this isn't. It was nice to see that, and it would be cool if Charlemagne would undergo a similar kind of reformation. Not that he's out here like fuck these bitches and stuff like that, because like I mean compared to like the music industry in general, it's like he's not really purveying that kind of message. He talks about mental health. He talks about respecting women. So it's like, oh, it's cool that he's talking about these things, but it's just there's another level that he could achieve that I would like to see him achieve. That would be great because he's broadcasting out.
Different levels.
Yeah. I have high expectations. What can I say? I grew up in a third world household.
No, so your house is a shithole.
No, yeah, shithole country. Oh. Yo, you happy that you ate today? Huh? What the fuck, shithole country? It's like, nah.
Just walking on dirt floors.
Well, it's funny in DR. It's like we got it's all like stone floors, but it's like there's you have to sweep every day because it's just like it gets dirty all the time. But it's like so like I have an aunt who like she's sweeping every day, and I'm just like, yeah, you don't have to do that here. Because she's so used to doing it back home. So it's just like if you're like we have back home you got the windows open and stuff like that. It's the tropics, but it's blowing in all the time. But she's over there like centralized heating and whatnot. She's over there just sweeping every day. It's like there's nothing there. But yeah, funny shit. But yeah, that's my spiel on Charlotte, man. And like it's cool like when I see people like J.R. Smith doing that stuff. I don't really care for Bow Wow, but it was cool when he clapped back at the guy who listed him off as a corny rapper. I tell you about that?
Yeah.
So he was just like, oh wow, because I'm not out here like looking over my shoulder for like for the ops or like niggas trying to get me or like I should have. It's like like, oh, well, bitches like this corny nigga though. I'm like, ha ha ha. It's like, all right, man. Like, I get what he's saying. Like, ha ha. But he was kind of like saying like, oh, I'm not about that fuckboy shit either. But then he kind of pervades this fuckboy shit. But anyway, I'm willing to look past it to like see the message that he's trying to purvey. Trying to look at the positives. So I'm all for that. But yeah. But yeah, I just watched this the last episode with Joe Rogan had Daryl Davis came back and he was with this other tech guy.
Yeah, I saw like the first hour.
Yeah.
I'm watching that now.
A nigger hater, Joe Rogan.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, but it was like, I mean, they're talking more about the app, I forgot what it's called, Minds, but eventually they got around to this conversation. They're kind of teasing around it about like how to have conversation with people who disagree with you. At least Daryl was, and he was kind of framing it like he was describing like when he talks to these people, he doesn't confront them directly from they say one thing and then it's like he lets them speak and then it's like then there's a knee-jerk reaction to say something back. He's just like he just sits there and takes it and listens to what they're saying and then instead of playing the offense he'll play defensively, just like, oh well, I'm black and I'm not violent, so like how do you explain that away? And so it's like, so he has conversations on that kind of level. He's like, oh, by doing that, it's like, and then that person goes home and they're thinking that's rattling around in his brain. He's like, yeah, but he's not violent, like, and he is black, like, I don't get it. And it's just like, then they start to change their paradigm. Yeah. So as opposed to like just silencing someone, oh, you're wrong. It's like, oh yeah, you just tell someone they're wrong. No one's gonna be like, oh, thanks, man. I was lost without you. You know, poor people are as smart as white people. But so I thought that was kind of interesting. But I guess on a certain kind of level, it works in his specific realm because he's talking to people who are just restricted by.
It's like a gnat or something.
Yeah, shit, it's getting warm now. But like restricted by looking at things in a specific kind of way. But it's But unfortunately, it's like not everything is in that kind of power or not that kind of dynamic where it's like, oh, there's someone who's just not exposed, and all I need to do is just expose them, and then they'll come to this realization.
Yeah.
And it's also oftentimes like people just who are exposed to different things, and they listen to different things, and they believe different things. So it's like it's a little different. So I wonder if there's a better way to communicate, have conversations without.
Well, he was describing a good way of doing it.
Yeah. You blowing off gas pellets stuff. So you coiled up just like. But yeah, I'm trying to see. Does that flesh out? I'm so happy your shit doesn't stink. At least not the Taco Bell joints.
Yeah, because he's like trying to have those conversations, but then also like breaking it down slowly so that like that person, even though they're essentially attacking him, he's not attacking them, which then allows them to. It gives them the opportunity to be more open to what he's saying because that's what is it? It's like a psychological thing where it's like. If you feel that you've been heard, you have like this inclination to at least hear someone else out because you've been heard.
Right. Yeah, man. But that's why it's like when I imagine like talking to different people, like my fictitious meeting with Charlemagne. It's like I'm not like trying to be. Like, I don't want to call him off. I'm just like, oh, like, how would I do this in a way that's like, oh, I understand this and I see this, but, you know, these are my gripes with it. And it's not necessarily like him specifically as a person. You get 3 microphones eventually. It's one Because people have no fucking. I looked at the thing. It's like we don't hear the farts.
We don't.
No, it doesn't come out. Well, I'm gonna get a third mic, and it's like that's gonna solve that problem. But I wonder if it I wonder how if it works in that same way when just two people who have a different opinion, where it's like yeah, they're willing to hear each other, but it's like I think there's like a knee-jerk reaction type thing. Like everybody thinks like, oh, they're on the moral high ground, so they're trying to explain to this other person, and I wonder if that would change the nature of the conversation versus what he's doing, which is like, yeah, I guess they're just trying to explain why they believe the way that they believe, and it's like, oh, just wanting him to accept it. And I don't know if they see themselves as like on the moral high ground or like purveyors of the truth. But it's like it's just has so many fundamental flaws that I think that as hard and as difficult as it is to have those conversations, I think it's simpler to be able to dice through, what makes sense and what doesn't.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to stuff like, I don't know. Like when it comes to like anything that you have a bunch of information on, like you have people talking about shit from both sides. It's like there's so much more shit to dice through in order to like get to like the facts of the matter. It's like some people just want like, oh well, this is what the facts are. Like what we were talking about earlier about the wage gap. It's like people just will have a knee jerk reaction be like to be against it, where it's like, all right, well let's look at what the data says. They'll like question the data. Oh well, who did this data? Where is this coming from? This is from a biased source. I don't trust this. I would like to see some contradictory information. I would like to do my own research.
Yeah.
I don't know if people are as willing to accept it as the Klan members are willing to accept, like, oh yeah, this black guy kind of sounds reasonable. He's not violent. Huh. And I wonder if we could ever get to a place where it's like we could talk to each
that's
other.
like an extreme viewpoint.
Yeah.
And it's usually based off lack of I'm an idiot.
Exposure, like yeah,
because you were saying that before. It's a lack of exposure.
Yeah, and it's like I'm saying
it's easier to kind of break that down than like somebody who has like, let's say, a very extreme viewpoint on like gender identity.
Yeah,
and you need to teach it to kids.
Yeah. Hey man, don't say gay.
Or like people that are like fervently like think you like should be teaching it to like infants or something like that.
Yeah.
Like that's the type of person where it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, man. And like
I feel like it's just more politically charged that it might be more difficult.
Yeah.
To do that.
100%.
It's like someone who's like racist. It's like all you would have to do is just take it and then be like, what about that?
Yeah.
And then like they'd be like, and then they're just making excuses. And then like if you have a couple more conversations with them, it might ease up a little bit. And then if they start thinking on their own, which most people would, then they're gonna start being like, maybe I've got this wrong.
Right. I was trying to find a way to translate that to like the normal conversations, like
basically like somebody who's like gonna. Who would like want to physically assault Ben Shapiro? Like that person, it might be a little.
Yeah.
It might be a little difficult.
Yeah, it might maybe not so open to conversation.
It's more so the people who are like casual.
Yeah.
I don't know how being in the Klan is casual, but I mean like
no, I feel
their mindset is casual. It's not like
I wonder if like the people who are saying that they want to attack the spirit, like if those are like actual threats, or if they're just talking shit because they're like lashing out because they can't.
Yeah, I mean, it's
do it in any other kind of way.
I mean, it's talking shit, but you know what I'm talking about. Like the people who are like, you could tell are like, there's
like that.
There's some real indoctrination going on.
Right.
Like you just like don't just like dislike him. Like if someone even has an R next to their name, you're like, God.
Yeah. The spawn of Satan. Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, it's kind of we'll just avoid people like that. I'm willing to gander that most people aren't like that. And the people who are like that, I think, are just frustrated because they can't challenge him on the intellectual level. Can't, and so they're just like, oh.
Who, Davis? Or Ben?
No, Ben Shapiro. So they're just like, oh well, I'm physically stronger than him. So, oh, beat his little ass. It's like, I think they're just like, you know how little kids like.
I mean, it doesn't
lash
have to be
out.
a physical threat. I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, but people who talk like that or who feel that way are just lashing out because they don't have the.
They're just frustrated.
Yeah, they don't have the words to be able to challenge him intellectually, so they're just like lashing out any way that they can, where they feel like they could gain the upper hand. So like, no, beat your ass, man.
I remember because he was saying something about trans, whatever.
Oh yeah, on the stage.
I don't know what that was. I think it was a woman.
Yeah.
I think it was a woman. Well,
I think it was a guy transitioning into a.
Who knows? I don't want to judge. It be wrong. It appeared to be a woman, and she was saying. I mean, you saw it, right? Where she was saying something like, actually these all like things that like, and then she named off a bunch of like organizations that like believe, and then he was like, okay, I forget what the statement even was, but it had to do with like some type of biological. He's like,
I think
he was just like
referring to her as a him or something like that, or he kept making.
No,
I don't quite recall what it was.
It wasn't that. That might have been at some point in the talk of what they were specifically talking about. Was he was saying something about biology, and then she then listed off, I think, some organizations. I mean, we could be completely wrong, but like I think listed off some organizations saying that like about gender, and he was like, okay, like any scientific institution that is blatantly saying that I'm ignoring biology isn't correct. Like they're just not. They have like no basis in like truth or anything.
Yeah. And
that was like that was like the big shutdown at the end of the video.
Okay. Yeah. It's been a while since I've seen it, but that was my introduction. That video was my introduction to Ben Shapiro. We're just spinning off of this, like how people are like so that like entrenched in what they believe. Or I guess continue on that example with Ben Shapiro. It's like, okay, so like trying to think about how somebody would approach that conversation, and when it's like, oh well, they don't have any intellectual honesty, I guess was what he was saying. Like Ben Shapiro was talking about any organization that says that I'm not referring to anybody by their biological gender, whatever, isn't steeped in
facts.
Yeah. So it's like, I guess, so with that one, it's just like, all right, well, we have I guess somebody could have a conversation with him and be like, okay, so we disagree about what the facts are. It's like, well, because the way that I see facts is da-da-da-da. But it's like, yeah, it takes a certain kind of person to not get, like, knee-jerk reaction, like, get upset or tight about what he was saying. It's like, oh, this motherfucker, yeah. It's like, oh, whoop your ass. It's like, all right, yeah. This is like, it goes back to what you're saying. Like, they were frustrated and they couldn't get the words out and they couldn't deal with what was going on at that time. So they're just lashing out in what way that they could. You know? Like when a kid goes to the candy store, can't get the candy, just like falls out, just starts convulsing. Sugar needs.
I think I'm gonna shit myself.
Please don't. Oh no! Just rolls out
on your beige couch.
Yeah. Oh, should have picked the brown color, man. Oh man.
It's probably gonna come out black. At a rough night.
Damn. It's a dark night. But yeah, like it's a modern example of the Don't Say Gay bill. Or like they like those knee-jerk reactions, like, oh, they don't want them to say gay. I can't believe they don't want to teach these children this thing about homosexuality.
Well, people don't even know what the bill is. That's the problem.
Oh, that's what I did. I think I did have a clip about that. Like a local Florida news was talking about it. Okay, I lied. Let me see.
Florida's controversial legislation passing, now sent to the governor there tonight. It's called the Parental Rights in Education Bill. Critics call it the Don't Say Gay Bill. What it would prevent teachers from saying or doing, and some asking tonight, if this is signed, what about isolated or bullied children? Who will they be able to turn to at school? Here's Victor Akendo in Florida tonight.
Tonight, Florida's controversial legislation, dubbed by critics as the Don't Say Gay Bill and gaining national attention, has been sent to Governor Ron DeSantis to sign, the governor already signaling he supports it. The state Senate passing the bill 22-17 today, despite days of protests from the LGBTQ community and thousands of students. Officially called the Parental Rights in Education Bill, the measure bans lessons regarding sexual orientation or gender identity in grades K through 3rd, and any instruction that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate according to state standards. Those standards, however, not yet in place for several grades.
All it does is state what is age, it talks about what's appropriate in the classroom to teach, and then it talks about the fact that the parent has the right to be engaged in the education of their children.
But critics warn this will prevent teachers and schools from helping children who feel bullied or ostracized and have nowhere to turn. According to the Trevor Project, 52% of LGBTQ youth enrolled in middle or high school reported being bullied in the last year, and 42% reported seriously considering suicide. President Biden has already condemned the bill, and tonight his education secretary suggested schools implementing it could lose access to federal grants due to a 1972 law. David?
Victor Akendo tonight. Victor, thank you.
So the big argument against like the part that they just said
but they don't describe how that would be.
I mean, the percentage of the people of the kids that were against it or that they quoted was again like LGBTQ youth in middle or high school. We're talking about 3 to 8 year olds. You're not even in 4th grade. So it's just like
You've got 5 more years of education where that could be taught.
Yeah. So it's just damn. I mean, you got all middle school, then all high school, and then the 4th and 5th grade, like the same thing as like the sexual education thing. So that, I mean, altogether is 4, 3 plus 2. I mean, 4 plus 2 plus 2.
What are you saying?
Like the 4 years in high school. Like, I mean, just not random numbers.
So you literally were just,
no, I'm thinking.
Yeah, but you got these 2 years and then the 3 over here.
So like
it's
from
8.
Yeah, because you're K through 12 is up to 18. Yeah.
It's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
4, 5, 6. Oh, so it's 5. No, 9.
No. Yeah, 4 plus 3 plus 2. 7, 8, 9. Yeah. But it's so it's just they're talk like for the predominant years of your education where you're like exploring your identity. Like 3 to 8 year olds aren't like talking about.
I don't know how it would harm you.
Sex, yeah. But like even if it does, there's still even the quote that they're talking about. Middle school or high school reported of being bullied within the past year.
I didn't even read middle school.
Oh, you're fine. But it's just but like so within the last year, like even if you're in 6th grade, you've reported bullying in the last year. That's the 5th grade, which this bill doesn't cover. You can't talk about it in 5th grade. So it's like.
But if just because you're not teaching, it doesn't mean that's then saying it's okay to bully somebody.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just
because if you're bullying somebody, then that's another issue, and then that needs to be addressed.
Right.
It'd be like saying like, oh well, we don't want to teach critical race theory to kids.
Yeah.
And it's like also, you just want black kids to be bullied. It's like, well, that doesn't. I don't know how those two are the same.
I think this is
Is this something else?
I thought this was a clip that I had.
Play it. We'll see what happens.
Gotten a lot of questions about this bill. So now that it has passed in the House, let's answer some of
this
those
guy is fucking
and verify exactly what this bill does, and maybe just as importantly, what it does not say. So the bill at its core prohibits schools from discouraging or prohibiting parental notification and involvement in critical decisions that affect the student's mental, emotional, or physical well-being. But it is the clause about restrictions on teaching LGBTQ topics that's gotten the most attention. So, does this bill ban all discussions on LGBTQ topics? No, but it wasn't always that way. Initially, the bill's language said that schools could not encourage discussion, but that was criticized for being way too broad, so discussion was changed to instruction. Now, instruction is not defined in the bill, but the bill's sponsor says that it applies to lesson plans, not informal classroom conversation. Another big one, would this require schools to out LGBTQ students who confide in staff about their sexual orientation or their gender identity? While the bill does prohibit withholding information from parents, there are certain exceptions if there were concerns that telling a parent would result in abuse or neglect. But the bill's sponsor did file a controversial amendment that would have essentially erased that exception. That amendment, however, was withdrawn before the vote on the bill.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's the part where people were getting upset about, or at least one element that they were being upset about like the potential of.
So all of their fears are for no reason.
Yeah, essentially. And even though and that's what I mean, like diving into the details, like people are so adamant about the "Don't Say Gay" bill, like labeling it that way in the protests and the feeling of accomplishment that comes from challenging the powers that be on passing this sexist bill.
Yeah, the problem is that, remember I was telling you when this all was first coming out and you hadn't even heard of it yet, right?
I had no idea.
It's because it was marketed with a "Don't Say Gay." So then people just see it as that and they're like, oh,
right.
The state of Florida, you can't say gay? Like,
Yeah.
Well, I'm in Vermont and we say gay and we're proud.
Yeah. What kind of faggots are there in Florida?
Jesus Christ.
But,
I wasn't expecting that.
What the faggots are there?
Can you keep that out?
God, I'll figure it out. Too strong. I'm black and I'm sorry. But,
I forgot about that. We just started making clothes.
Yeah, man. But yeah, like you said, like the oversimplification of the bill. It's like, all right, well,
it's not oversimplifying. It's just it was given a cool tag to it with the "Don't Say Gay," and then people just
took that and ran with it. Like
they have no idea what's in the bill.
Yeah, they think that the bill is literally like can't say play games for it anymore. Legislation, let's vote on it. And but that's what I'm saying. Like the bill, and not that it's overly complicated to begin with, but they simplified.
Just like you can't teach about it.
Yeah,
you can talk about it if it's like brought up in discussion.
Right.
But you can't have an explicit
lesson based off of, which I mean, when you're tied down to the public school system, there's not a lot of free wiggle room to do your own kind of studying anyway. But with the people have been taking leaps and bounds with the critical race theory and stuff like that, so it's just like, all right, so let's see where this might go. Maybe it's people are legitimately concerned in the Florida government with the direction that it might go with that. So they're just like,
there's
all right,
probably definitely legitimate concerns for it. But anybody that's really commenting on it has no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, no, it's just one of the criticisms I heard about it, like a legitimate criticism. It's like, why is this at the forefront of the conversation? Like, of all the bills and all the things to focus on Florida, is this at the top of the food chain? Or
DeSantis is just pushing the whole anti-woke bullshit.
Yeah,
like, I'm not catering to
right
2% of the population.
Yeah. So it's like, make that stance versus not. So it's like, okay, like we could have that conversation, but it's like, and those are conversations.
And he got angry at a press conference because he's like, this shouldn't be a big deal. It's like we're talking about like, yeah, like you said, we're talking about 3 to 8 year olds. Like,
yeah.
So I don't think they expected it to be that big of a deal.
Yeah, I don't know.
They thought this was just like status quo. It's like, oh, hey, with the discussions going on in society, well, let's just write this and put it on in the bill because you know, there's really no reason for these teachers to explicitly be talking about it. And, there's some wordings that we have to redo because that might come up in conversation if someone has gay parents. Okay, we'll change that wording and then we'll just go from there. And then it became this huge thing there. And he like was spazzed. He was like enraged and was like, I don't know what's going on. Like,
oh shit. No, but
I think that's when he yelled at the kids, the black guys that had the mask on. He's like, "You can take those stupid things off." Remember I told you that? I think that's what it was. He was just so angry about just everything.
It just poop out, just blowing off. Yeah, I feel you. But like, I've like people, some people are like, oh, he's just trying to. Okay.
I was gonna say if you're gonna pick her up, I might try and sit.
False hope. But it's like it's not like, oh, is he just like trying to do this? Was that all performative? Is this a wedge issue? And he's just trying to enrage people? And it's like you could make an argument for that, but I think I don't think so, because like you said, it's like, yeah, I think he was legitimately angry, and it's like now we have stuff on we have shows and stuff like with 5-year-olds like, oh yeah, I'm transgender. It's like, whoa, who put that in your head? Like, it's like that's not something the typical 5-year-old talks about. So it's
they could be experiencing that, but that's going to be their own internal. Like they're not going to that's not going to be a term that they're going to use.
Yeah, it wouldn't manifest in that way. Like they wouldn't manifest those words. That wouldn't take place. It's like
they would say they would be like I feel like a girl. Or like
I
want to be a girl.
I want to paint my fingernails. I don't want to play soccer outside. I don't want to watch those kind of shows.
They'd be having their own internal crisis with feeling they're in the wrong body.
Yeah. So
they're definitely not using
gender. Yeah. So it's like because of stuff like that,
it's like a black kid said I'm a negroid. You'd be like, who the fuck told you that word?
Niglet. But
a mongoloid.
Jesus. But yeah, man, like there's stuff that we could argue. Like I don't know what's in people's hearts. I don't know what's in their mind before they say it.
It's just all reactionary.
Yeah,
and then you don't even know what's real. Like they could be bots. Like
so it's like in order to instead of arguing over whether this person internally felt this way or that way, let's just talk about things as they stand. Is this gonna have a profound effect on your day-to-day life, or profoundly affect the bullying of these individuals or not? No, we're not supposed to really talk about that stuff up to that age anyway. That's why when you're introduced the sex education, it's they wanted to introduce it early, but the early time to introduce it is at the tail end of 4th grade. So it's the expectation is oh, everybody's 9, so now we're about to start talking about it. We're about to enter the preteen years type of thing. So it's this bill is kind of coinciding with that same thing. It's add on to the sex education type thing, because that's what this is. But it's
it was just, I think it's more just covering their bases.
Yeah.
Where most people probably weren't teaching this at all, and this just to avoid any type of confusions.
Yeah. Because they're afraid of
the possibility. We're just gonna do this.
Yeah. I have to keep walking. Man.
Did you say white man?
Said butt man.
Oh, I thought you said white man. That's an odd.
But yeah, that's just like a.
Yes.
No, I'm trying to form my thoughts together before I start rambling over something. Start repeating myself over again. But
Have you ever had a pudding pop?
Pudding pop? Oh yeah, I like my sweaters.
You know what? Do you remember? This is so fucked up.
What?
Do you remember when Ben Shapiro was on Bill Maher?
Yeah.
The CRT argument.
Yeah. Because there's that one guy who was.
Why did he look like he was doing a pudding pop commercial?
I don't remember that.
The black guy, because he would be like, "That's not what I said, Ben."
Yeah.
He's trying to sell pudding pop.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna go rape somebody.
Did you drink that? Zip zop boom the box. Oh. Yeah, see, like, I remember that. I remember being incredibly frustrated by that conversation because I'm just like, oh, like you were so like we could have talked. You guys.
I had to stop watching it. I couldn't finish.
Yeah, I was like, it's like they were just trying to jab at it. It wasn't a conversation. They were just like on these pedestal trying to like.
No, he was just trying to be a piece of shit.
Yeah. It's just, it wasn't. It could have.
He was just trying to do gotchas the whole time.
Yes, exactly. That's what
I'm
going to
win this. I'm gonna win this debate by.
Zing zang boom.
I don't. That was gross.
Yeah, it was bastardization of conversation.
I mean, it would have been cool if he was just some fucking person, but like if you'd be like a doctor.
Mm. I don't even know who.
You're a professor. You have a doctorate degree, and that's how you're behaving.
Yeah.
You should be like Sam Harris.
Right, just like it's just cool measure.
Well, no,
like,
Ben. No, Ben. This is the way
but...
you're going about things is just completely wrong.
Yeah.
Said he's like, that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Pop.
Yeah. That's the definition I use. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, it's just so like I feel like it's such a convenient bundle of joy to just wrap all everything this CRT all up nice and tight into. Oh man.
I don't know what's happening anymore.
Yeah, I think I don't know if we have time to really dive into it, but yeah, the best example that I saw of that was John Oliver's take on CRT.
What are we doing?
John Oliver. Oh man, get ready for World of Pain, bro. This is gonna hurt.
Oh, you me cunt.
No. But that's the meeting. There's
Wasn't
two.
he?
No. There was
the guy who got arrested.
There was two people who were arrested. He's pointing out one of the people who got arrested who was railing against critical race theory.
Okay.
The other guy who got arrested was
that the guy that was on Tucker? Or is it the same person?
No, that was a different person. Yeah, this guy was I don't remember his name, but the other guy is because I remember looking into it was because the two men detained at the Virginia board meeting. I'm just reading the title, but it wasn't a town hall meeting about critical race theory. It was a town hall meeting on the status of the school, and there's a lot of things that were discussed. Critical race theory was a big part of it, but this other guy who came in, he wasn't really even trying to talk about. He didn't come in to discuss anything. He just wanted to see what it was about because his daughter was raped, and by a dude who wore a dress who walked into the girls' bathroom, and he admits it himself, and that it's not because transgenderism or anything. It's like no, it's just someone who's taking advantage of the system in place, and he was frustrated With the person, understandably, someone rapes your daughter, you're not gonna just sit back and be like, oh, okay, you know. And
Oops.
yeah, things happen. Kids are kids.
Boys will
be in dresses or whatever. But and then he heard that this person goes on to rape somebody else. And so he got super frustrated, and then he was like in contact with people. Yeah, you're familiar with it. And then but he goes to this school board meeting, and he's just listening in, trying to figure out what's going on. And then he got some things were said. They were talking about how transgenders, this and everything's safe, and we have these policies in place. And then he got a little upset because it's just like, no, it's not safe. Not because transgenders are, as a collective, inherently evil rapists, but because of the specific incident that happened to his daughter, which he brought up, and he's just like, why are you lying about this, da da da? And they're just like, oh, I'm not familiar with that incident. But it's like, yeah, but no, that didn't happen. It's safe. And so it's like, nah, like, my daughter was raped, like, so he had some choice words, and things got a little heated, and he got arrested for it. But
I'm aware.
Yeah. So that's the whole thing. But instead of highlighting that this is a whole, I mean, you could just focus on the critical race theory part and say like,
it's just John Oliver.
I know. Yeah. But I was thoroughly impressed by how.
Sorry, I seem dismissive. I know where this is going.
I'm just, when I saw him on the Daily Show, like I didn't think that he was this.
We'll see.
I don't even want to.
Or I'll see.
Yeah.
You can maximize it.
I don't even want to say partisan. It's just you're just ignoring certain facts. It's just you highlight the guy who's like you could say like, oh, there's a town homie, like one of them was this guy, who was arrested, and he was appeared on Tucker, and this is what he said. Nah, that was crazy. The other guy who was arrested, tragedy that happened to him, and my heart goes out to him and his family. That's all you had to do. That's all you had to do. Bring some level of legitimacy to somebody's actual plight.
You didn't have to.
But
whatever. I don't want
yeah.
It's gonna be another rant.
Yeah, it is. Okay, let's focus on critical race. Just real fast, also, like Glenn Youngkin, that is one of the things that he said, but he also said a lot of other things concerning school, things that are going on in the school, which is one of his big focuses. His opponent didn't say anything about it. And that was a big focal point for a lot of voters this year, because coming out of the pandemic and this whole the school shutdown and everybody being delayed by a year, it's not.
There's a lot of bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, not to defend Glenn Youngkin, but it's just to say, like, if one person is going to talk about the things that you care about and the other person is just going to try to make you elicit some kind of emotional response because of the connection to Trump, it's like, I don't give a fuck. It's like, oh, okay. Another rant.
That is so unbelievably intellectually dishonest. What that statement is. That statement is just saying, like, it's saying, like, there's so much going on within it that I can't identify what the hell it is.
Right.
I'm not even sure exactly what it is, and I've been trying to figure this out for a year, and it looks like there's certain Sam's. And then he actually gives examples of where he sees it, and then.
So you see the same thing.
It'd be like having a good grasp on geometry, and then like trying to explain what physics is while not fully understanding physics, but having the groundwork of geometry, and then like using the terms from geometry that are within physics, and then but like I don't really actually know what physics is, but I think if you like do this thing, and then somebody be like, they don't even know anything about math.
100%. Yeah, so that's frustrating, like how he's recategorizing it as something else. It's like, wow, like that's impressive, and people just like, and I count like
that's why he's turning into an autistic Steve Carell.
Oh my god!
You just pause it and get a picture.
That's so perfect. Yeah, it's just
Where are my ducks? Random thing. Do you have Cheez-Its?
Oh man, it's beyond frustrating because it's like I I used to listen to him on the Daily Show when Jon Stewart wasn't there, and I was like, oh wow, like look at this guy when he was just a extra pundit, and I was like, oh, this guy's clever, this guy's witty, oh, he's making these catchy jokes. Okay, cool, but it's like I never saw anything even close to resembling what he's doing right here, and I don't think he. I don't
Who gives
know.
a shit if he's honest or not?
Well, it's kind of like the same thing with Charlemagne. It's like it's frustrating. At least, I don't know. I always say like at least with Charlemagne, it's like I can see the aspects and his interests are just a little aligned a little differently, so he's just not exposed to this world. But like Oliver's like knee deep into the things, the type of things that we're kind of going into and discussing. And he's just being the intellectual dishonesty that he has about it is just it's gross. It's not. I mean, if you wanna poke fun, if you wanna crack jokes, like okay, some hit, some won't. Like all right, I won't butcher you alive for that. But it's like when you like pointing out something like when you're starting to get more of a serious tone and you're trying to
clearly
say
not
fact,
saying that he doesn't know anything about it. He's saying that he's having a hard time grasping what the actual
right. And
full scope of what this is.
Exactly, and of what he understands. He went on to explain what he understands of it, and then
I've seen these examples from it, and this doesn't seem good.
Yeah, this is the elements that I disagree
So if
with.
somebody could maybe explain this clearer, I might understand it more. But as far as what I know, I don't like it.
Right, and if I was like, okay, well, let me.
He doesn't have anything.
Yeah. If he just broke it down, like, okay, well, like, there's like
he wasn't saying I don't know what this is, and here's what it is.
Right, exactly, and that's how John's representing it to be. Yeah, so it would have been different if after that he went on to explain, well, that's not the crux of what it is. That's like a bastardization of a specific example. Right. So like, fine, that would have been 100% okay. But it's like, but you didn't go that way. You decided to. Are you in pain yet? So. I mean, like the pain. I understand. She's like over defending.
Before we go down any type of road that you want to take me.
Yeah.
So he took examples of people that don't like it.
Yeah.
And then he took an example of somebody who not only likes it, but is like responsible for it.
Yeah, they were defending it.
So
and teaching it. So.
It's crazy that the person that's responsible for it has a measured and non-divisive stance on it.
I couldn't imagine like he could having a level
it's very
like
simple. Fuck white people.
Yeah.
She's not gonna say that.
Yeah. False equivalency is a real thing. When you compare a pundit on a channel dedicated to riling up masses in order to feel one kind of way, it's a little different than
like why not get somebody that's just like, well, here's a person who does independent peer reviews, and then and here's his stance, and then oh, that's cool. It's like, oh, here's an author of critical race theory. Let's see what she has to say.
Yeah,
and yes, it is good.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, I feel you, bro. I feel you. But obviously it's not that. Like his supposed the arrogance of just oh, obviously, I mean, as complicated as it is, and you've heard about this.
Well, let's see if this gets into any more.
Oh, it gets fun.
Oh, it's only getting worse.
That's the other thing, like the way that she, so she's saying
the amendments that suit her.
Yeah, which is okay. I get what she's saying. Like she's saying oh well, we're doing this because we're trying to prop up these amendments, and in order to fully explain or to fully realize the true spirit of these amendments, this is the road that we're going down. Like, all right, that's understandable. I don't have a criticism of that, but the way that he frames it is is people who are against it, or I guess the way that she kind of framed it is people who are against it are also against the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, which is not necessarily true. They're just upset with these specific aspects about the critical race theory. But so now we have different conversations going on where Stryker's okay, well, I don't like and all those people in the town hall who were discussing critical race theory, not the guy who was upset that his daughter got raped, but But the people were upset about the categorization of whites versus blacks, or the depicting America in a non-pleasant way. and and that's different or different than okay, well, let's just find out the sources of this inequality. Like, so now we have two different conversations happening at the same time, but he's supposing that, oh, well, if you're against it, then of course you're racist, and that's
You're a chocolate bum bum.
hyperbolic. Okay, no.
What?
No, he's like, oh, well, like
that actually makes more sense.
Right, but the thing is, like, he just hyperbolically distorted the viewpoint.
Well, hyperbolic
of,
would
well, like, he just distorted. He distorted one point of view, but then he's accusing hypocritically. Okay, so I'm not.
That's how it is with everything.
Right, because that's exactly.
That just isn't something new.
Right, you disagree with somebody or something, and then you just you attack the weakest points in order to abide by the.
You don't ever look for a news story for a white guy getting shot by a cop. But if it happens to a black person and there's video, holy shit! Now we got some money.
Right. So like, I don't refute like what he's saying. Talk about this Rufo dude. Like, I honestly don't know anything about him.
He's saying like, he's making it seem like it's some like we found it.
Yeah. So
and to be honest, who gives a shit about some guy who's being on Fox News all the time? Like, James Lindsay is probably a bigger detriment to CRT than whoever that is. Yeah. I don't even know who that is.
Yeah, I've never heard of him before this. So it's like, I mean,
Lindsay's probably the bigger one.
Yeah, it's just that I don't. He might be like. I don't want to
getting the views that it used to, nor is any news organization.
Right.
So the point of Fox News is it being like they're convincing people in their 50s not to like this. Like,
yeah, because that's the thing. Like, he's mischaracterizing, and like, funny enough, like, again, hypocritically, doing exactly what he's accusing Rufo of doing, where he's just like, which is like, Rufo might very well be doing.
He's cherry picking.
Yeah, like, he's cherry picking because he's labeling everybody who's against CRT is against 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment.
Well, not that. It's just that they're dishonest, or they don't know what is going on. Like, no one has a grasp on it, except for the people that wrote it.
Yeah. Well, he's not even depicting it that way. He's just saying that people who are against it, it's like, some people don't know about it, but even like those who do know about it and are talking about it have nefarious intentions. As opposed to like, oh no, these people are upset by these elements of it, and like even like these are extreme elements, these are cherry picked elements, but there are still elements of it. So it's like it's worth talking about. Like, hey, this isn't a proper depiction of CRT, which is kind of what he did right here, which is perfect. I'm not against that element of it, and pointing out the people who are trying to rail against it have ulterior intentions. I'm not against that either. Like, oh, you want to point someone out for doing something nefarious? I'm all for it.
No. Why did they use that picture? Look at her. She looks like the crazy ex-wife on like a Lifetime movie.
You're gonna leave me? We'll see about that. But it's like this is like, it sounds like the conversation that she's having with this guy is
let's see where this
nice
goes.
and measured, but
or his take on
the way that he characterizes. Yeah.
I'm just mildly curious. Heterosexual. So you're privileged if you are normal.
Is that a space?
No. Heterosexual.
Identifying your privilege.
Like heterosexual, it's the traditional sexual orient.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm sorry. What is cisgendered?
No, that's something different.
No, what is the term that's like that just says you're heterosexual? Like there's a
heteronormative.
Term. Oh, there's another term.
Doesn't matter. Because like not just the vast majority of people are heterosexual. So how does that make it a privilege to be something that like 95% of the entire population is?
I've heard this. They say that like you take it for granted that you could see or you could make out with your significant other out in public and not worry about getting like,
who gives a shit?
disgusting stares. Yeah, but that's the kind of the point of privilege that people talk about.
Yeah, but that's not like a privilege. It's just
but that words don't mean what they're supposed to mean. Or they traditionally mean
native
anymore.
English speaker. That's not a privilege. Stay where the fuck you are. Like, I wouldn't move to France and they'd be like, look at all these French and they're privileged speaking the language of the area that they were born in.
Right.
God, look at these fucking Nigerians. They're all speaking their native languages.
Fuck it.
Privilege. I chose to go there.
Yeah, it's just it's the way that we have.
Parents are married, so your parents make good life choices, so you're privileged.
Which is statistically, you are more.
No, it's stupid to say it's no. Just stop talking. It's stupid to say that people making the right choice is a privilege.
Yeah, no, I feel you.
Like, I didn't rape my daughter. My daughter's privileged because I didn't sexually molest her.
Yeah,
it's like, okay.
You're
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
You see, you're not supposed to touch your kids.
Yeah. It's like, I'll pay my child, my what is it?
I know how to read.
Yeah.
You're supposed to know how to read.
Yeah, it's like, these are things.
Able-bodied. Okay, that I guess I could get that.
I wipe my ass. It's like, I'll pay my child support.
Have your own bathroom or bedroom.
Yeah.
Okay, I can go with that. Cisgender.
That's the term. That's the term. Cisgender.
No, that's not heterosexual or anything.
No, I think it is, man.
No, it isn't. No.
I
want to throw your phone.
I think it is.
No, cisgendered is you're a biological male who is a male.
Yeah.
That's not heterosexual.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like you're
it's gender.
Biological male that's a male who likes female. Okay.
You would be just a gay cisgendered man.
Oh, okay. I see. Oh, son of a bitch. It's goddamn nut. Fuck spring.
Never been racially profiled.
Yeah, it's just like
holy shit.
What's this one?
College is the expectation.
Okay.
Your parents had successful boundaries placed on you.
Shithole countries, bro.
Doesn't that just say like, black people are just a worthless race?
Well, I mean, like
you have no expectations at all to amount to a decent human being.
I mean, but there's like a lot. Like if you're like African or like Caribbean, it's like there is an expectation that you're going to school. So it's like,
but that's just hysterical. It's like, you're an ex-con who doesn't take care of and you don't take care of your kids and all this other shit. It's like, hey, I'm just being a black guy.
Yeah. Moving the conversation from like, you're not taking care of your responsibility to, you don't have the points of privilege that other people have been exposed to.
But just an expectation of success is a point of privilege.
The conversation about privilege is
comfortable walking outside alone. Well, that's like a woman thing.
Yeah. The conversation that revolves around privilege is not as it kind of gets away from
feel represented in media.
Yeah.
Involved in extracurricular activities. Mm-hmm. Never lost a loved one. That's not like a point of privilege. It's by chance that like somebody dies.
But that's
sure.
Like a lot of these things are the same thing.
Feel safe around police officers, born in country of residence. That's not a point of privilege because you're making the decision to leave your area to then go to another area.
Yeah, but they're talking about specifically in the States. They're not even.
No, but I'm saying for you to be born and for you to be born in an area, live in that area, and then not leave that area. That's not a privilege. That's a choice.
No, the reason why they say that specifically for the States.
No, I understand why it's. I'm not lost on why it's privilege. I'm just pointing that that's not a point of privilege.
Yeah. Why they call it privilege?
Like I was born in D.C., I was raised in D.C., and I work, and now I still live in D.C. Oh, well, you're very privileged.
Yeah.
I didn't move. Male military kid?
Yep.
Mentally healthy?
Yep. Quite a village. Yep.
No speech impediment. Okay, I'll go with that. Drive/get driven to school.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to take a bus?
Yeah. Your own mode of transportation. But, never mind,
I'm
people
pretty sure
who-
there were some rich white kids that took the bus to school.
Yeah, for sure. See, and the thing is
That's not really up to an educator to do.
But that's not what critical race theory is. I think it's worth doing that as an educator to talk about not just stopping at because it's important
You're leading things up to interpretation.
No, but not interpretation. Just to be like, because of the things that happened in the civil rights movement, and then
talking about redlining.
Yeah, like redlining and then and targeting specific populations, black populations in particular for this back at that time, and then moving forward into the now, it's you could see why the shadows of those policies have an effect on the people in some certain communities today, and whereas people will come from overseas and they'll come over here and they'll be like, oh, what's wrong with you? But it's and right now it's if we take a snapshot of oh, right here, right now, it's oh, how come these people are habituated into this kind of lifestyle versus not? It's I think it's worth talking about, because I think the true gold nugget in studying history is to understand human behavior. So if you could relate, look back in the past and see human behavior, especially the conditions that lead from then to now, and why people operate the way that they do now based off of the historical context, I think that's beneficial.
Okay.
But it's not. That's not what critical race theory does. And they kind of talk about those kind of that would be an appropriate way to try to identify why different inequalities exist. But then the question is what to do from here, what to do about it, not to kind of correct the course of history. It's just let's take the lessons from history and see okay, now that we understand that this population was targeted, that's why this group of people is likely
It's the way it is.
Yeah. So then moving forward, it's that doesn't excuse when they walk around and do some bad shit. That's just okay. We understand this is the condition of this neighborhood, and then moving forward.
That's asking a ton of fucking shit.
But I know, but that's the way that
doesn't work.
But
That
that's
doesn't work.
But that's the conversation that needs to be had instead of
can't
talking
have
about
that
the critical. We should though.
You can't.
Why not? That's my argument. Why can't we have that conversation? Why can't we why can't we just be sensible?
Because you're asking random people to have these conversations.
Not random people. I'm talking about just because specifically in the education field.
You can't have that.
Well, you could.
They're fucking nuts.
Yeah, I know, but that's the thing.
Some of the dumbest people in the world are teachers.
And that's what my thing is they don't have to.
They
make
don't need to
decisions
do that.
They're making they're making feel because they feel bad about this and they want to fix it. And they
You want people
want
to stop
so hard.
being people.
No, I want people to be sensible. I want people to be more.
To
I want people to be more sensible because based off of okay, the outcome that you want is
That's
want
not
people
sensible.
You want people to
what
understand.
What you are saying isn't sensible.
I think it is. I think if you want,
You think it's sensible.
I think it is. I think it is.
Hundreds of thousands of teachers can just unilaterally come together and be sensible about controversial issues.
I think they can. I think because I don't think it's controversial to look at history and be like, okay, this is how we got from A to B. How do we get to C? All right, let's start at B. We'll talk about A, and then we'll talk about the path to B, and then I think it's sensible. I think it's because the same thing is happening.
You would have to Daryl Davis everybody. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but isn't that possible? You can't. Yeah. You don't
individually have conversations, people, and break them down.
No, just have a collective conversation like we're doing right now about critical race theory and see okay, this isn't what you really want to talk about. This isn't really what you're concerned about.
What about the teacher that argued with Ben Shapiro?
What's she? Oh, the guy on the thing. Yeah, see that's frustrating because it's
Yeah, that's who you're talking about.
Well, I think he's a college professor, so it's like.
Yeah, but you don't think there are educators like him?
No, I won't say that.
I need a Daryl Davis shoe. I came in too strong.
No, what I'll say is that I think that there's more sensible teachers than you might think. I think there's more teachers that are like that care about
what
this
about
thing.
the kids and the reactions to that? Like, you don't understand. Like, there's going to be lawsuits. Like,
no, I don't think so. You think that like there's going to be lawsuits against teachers who are like, okay, let's teach.
It could be anything. There could be a whole bunch of shit.
No, but like to
you literally
be
want to
like,
have like a Joe Rogan podcast with 10-year-olds.
That's what education should be. Education should be based around conversations, and conversations should be steeped in facts. And you can inject your emotions into it, but you could talk about.
You can't do that.
You can.
No, you can't.
There's schools that
on a grand scale.
I think I'm optimistic.
Yeah,
I'm optimistic. I think there's more sensible people than you think. That's what it is.
How many teachers do you know that you would trust having any type of a logical conversation about multiple issues?
I don't know a lot of teachers, but
there's none.
Well, I don't know a lot of teachers.
How many people do you know?
I could have conversations with a lot of different people. Oh my God. So like
I just said that you would trust going out and speaking to other people.
Yeah, like I could.
How many people do you know?
Well,
I need you to answer this. How many people do you know?
I could trust everybody to go out and speak to people.
No,
now, whether they
in the way that you want it to
sensibly
speak.
or not. Yeah. Well, that's dependent on their path in life and what things that they've been exposed to.
How many people do you know?
I don't know any teachers.
How many people do you know? I said people.
Okay, people in general. Everybody in my inner circle.
So a couple or a few.
Yeah. Less than 10.
How many people do you know that you've talked to that you don't want talking to other people?
Well, it's not that I don't want them talking to other people.
Oh my God, don't be politically correct.
No, because this is how I feel. It's not that I don't want them talking to other people about these things. It's just that it's like
that you wouldn't want.
No, but it's
that
like
you don't think would be good at it.
Okay, so I don't think most people would be good at it. But I think that's because
what are teachers?
What are people mostly?
So most teachers would not be equipped to have these conversations
right now, but we could move.
You couldn't.
Yeah, you can. I think that's part of the differences. I think I'm not arguing right here, right now, instantaneously at the second. Teachers can all around the country just make the decision of like, this was wrong. Let's do this instead. What I'm saying is that this is a conversation that could be had on a large scale, and then we could move this conversation forward where it's like, all right, well, let's talk about things.
The entire education system is connected to the Democratic Party. Like, I don't even know what you're trying to do here.
Well, I don't like there's giant elements of the education system that I'm just not a big fan of. But it's
so then how can you expect it to formulate this type of a thing?
But
it's literally impossible.
No, it's not impossible.
It is impossible.
No, when you reform any kind of institution, it's like, all right, well, you have to start at some point, and in the mind is a.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be able to get it done.
You would.
How could you reform it?
If you get the
because if you're reforming it, you're taking it away from what it wants to be and what everybody is already thinking.
I disagree, though. I don't think it's moving away from what people want it to be. I think people have this understanding.
I don't think you understand the bias that comes from that.
Maybe, but it's like I think people
there are it's something like I think over 50% of college campuses don't even have a conservative teacher on them.
Yeah, or not comfortable.
You don't think that's somewhat in the same realm in the other?
Well, it's not that. Well, I don't think you have to be conservative in order to teach things in that way. I think you just have to understand.
Everything's political. Of what you're trying to do is essentially make the education system lean more in a conservative way.
No, but
it's already on this side. So if you want to change it, you're making it go this way, which means now you're politically attacking the education system. That's what you're doing. No. This is what you're doing. This is how you will be attacked.
Yeah.
Exactly. So how do you do it?
Well, because
because if you're attacking the entire education system,
I'm not trying to switch it from left to right. I'm not trying to switch it from.
It doesn't
from
matter what the
is
fuck
to
you
this.
want to do. It's what you're going to be painted as.
Okay, yeah, no. So some people are gonna paint it as that, and then the people who are willing to listen to what I have to say, I would say this.
And that will be few and far between.
Yeah, but the few and far between is all you need. You
We're not
just need a
talking
couple
about
of sparks
we're not
in order
talking-
to start the raging, forest fire. Start with a couple of sparks. The ocean is just a compilation of a couple of raindrops over large periods of time. But at the same time, I think it's possible. I think it's just that I'm optimistic.
A response to everything.
Well, I think what it is that I'm just optimistic about the possibility of what people can get to if they all come together on the same page. I think you're less. You don't because of what you've been exposed to. You're just like, man, fuck these people. They have no idea what the fuck's going on. They'll never reach this level.
I just realized that it's very difficult to get all of these factors
for sure.
onto.
I'm not arguing the point of difficulty. I'm just saying that it's a possibility. I'm not saying that it's a simple solution. We can just do that. Chit-chat-choo. Boom. We just solve all problems. Yeah. What I'm saying is that it's going to be a hard fight, but there's a direction to head in. And this is the direction. So instead of talking about points of privilege, critical race theory, and we could talk about things like, we could talk, the crux of what you want to talk about is why the inequalities exist. I can submit to the fact that this is what critical race theory it was trying to do, and I think there's a better way to go about it, because when I look at critical race theory, it has these other unintended consequences that I don't think people were prepared to ingest. So it's like or ready to accept. Like over here, he's painting it all out to be. Excuse me. He's painting it all out to be like, oh well, either you don't understand it or you're just a fucking lunatic, racist goon. Who's trying to push the conservative agenda. But it's like, if we could look past that, we could change the paradigm to like, all right, well, let's see what's best. Like, let's talk about the inequalities that exist in a measured way that everybody could be on board with. If I offer a solution, or if a solution is offered to talk about it in that way, instead of labeling critical race theory, liberal, conservative, it's like, all right, well, this happened. This is where we are now.
Yeah, but that's how that's how things are going to be boxed. Always. So you're asking.
Well, not always, but like I can see people will like try to.
Because that's what it is.
Label, but like things are happening. Like
it's not that they try; they will.
No. Well, I know that people will always categorize things in different by different things in order to try to understand it. They want to simplify it into certain things, like either I like it or I don't. And but that binary, two-dimensional way of thinking, I think, is fundamentally wrong or flawed in this respect. But
that's just what it is.
I know that's what it is, but
that's what you're going to have to combat.
Yeah, and I think it's possible because we do it with so many other things. Like when it comes to when we're studying anything else, like your example with geometry and equating the mathematical equations,
like not understanding physics completely, but like being a master of geometry.
Right. So it's like instead of labeling you don't know physics, that you're a terrible mathematician. It's like no, it's like okay, well maybe perhaps that's true, but let me think about a brilliant physicist. Oh, Einstein was a great physicist. Was he a great mathematician? No. He actually had help from a mathematician in order to come up with his theory of relativity because he wasn't that good at it. It's like, oh, well, that's an example. It's like, oh, maybe it is possible to be good at physics but not good at math. Or vice versa, or good at math but not good at physics. Doesn't just because your ability to be good at physics or bad at physics doesn't mean that you're good or bad at math. It's not an accurate measure. There might be a correlation there, but is it something that's pervasive across a multitude of people throughout the whole population? Let's look at the data. And then once we get people to shift their paradigm in that way, let's look at the data. Let's look at, okay, this is where we were. This is where we are. This is where we want to be. Instead of, I think people right now are just like, okay, this is where we are. Things were fucked up back then. Okay, and we need to fix that. It's like, all right, so yeah, you want to fix the problem of the past. It's like, but what kind of future are you painting out? Like this idea fleshed out to its fruition. Like what does that look like? And I don't think that's something that they've really explored.
Yeah.
And I think if you challenge them on that, like it's just like, all right, like what point do you want to get to? It's like I think most people want the same thing. Well, relatively speaking, like a lot of people just want what's best for the family. They want to be respected. They want to be listened to. Shit like that. So I think if you get to a point when it comes to this, instead of talking about specific points of privilege and nicking at one thing or another, just acknowledge that all people are different, and a lot of this shit is chance, and a lot of this shit is hard work, and a lot of this shit, like, it doesn't matter what you do, and it's just stuff that someone externally is gonna be able to provide for you, not just random acts of nature or your personal effort. Sometimes it's just someone else giving you a arm up. So I think if things are digested in that realm, it's like we could get to like, oh, okay, so instead of looking at things in a partisan way, let's just talk about how to get to this brighter future.
And accomplish what this move you're making right now, this transition that you're in.
My biggest move right now is trying to change as many minds that look like us back into the Afrocentric mindset opposed to the Eurocentric mindset. Like everything we're talking about right now, like he was just saying, after he jumps on that grenade, who's going to follow him? We're so trained and it's so embedded to have that Eurocentric mindset that worry about myself, worry about me, worry about mine, worry about mine. I'm not going to help nobody else who look like me build up when everybody else do it but us. When you made over $100 million in your career, right? Is 105 going to change? 110 going to change your lifestyle? Realistically. You know how many people you can change lifestyle with $10 million in our hood? In our communities? Who's going to stop us? We got the money. We don't have the mindset. Our mindset, we'd rather go throw $60,000 in the club, in the strip club. Go throw $60,000 than go feed 2,500 people in the hood. Think about it. I've done it. I can't sit here and be like, oh man, I'm a hypocrite. I've done this myself. I've thrown money in the club, literally, blindlessly, aimlessly drunk, at a ball. And now I sit back like I'm a stupid ass. I could have fed my whole community 10 times over with the money. I was just late on the bus.
Right.
Because I'm so wrapped into me. I got that Eurocentric mindset. I need this designer jacket. I need these jeans. I need this book bag. I need to be looking like this because the vet's got this. I'm pushing this car. I'm doing... Why? Who am I impressing? I'm not even fulfilled with me.
One's perception, as you already know, one's perception is one's reality, okay? You cannot change anybody's reality. If you try to change their reality, you're going to get pushback because they only know what they know. Whether it's real or not, it's their reality. So what you want to do is you want to offer them a better alternative perception. And if they resonate with your perception, then they will change their own reality.